Hi there, I'm here with our two BG500 combos, and in this video I'm going to give you a little more detail on some of the features inside them. The main difference between the two combos is in the driver configuration. So there's a 115 and a tweeter, and there's a 210 and a tweeter configuration. All the different drivers are quality drivers from Eminence. The two combos feature a 500 watt bass amp head, and if we have a closer look at some of the features, you'll see that there's quite a few extras in here that you won't find on every other bass amp out there. So starting out here on the left hand side, there's a regular bass input, which is kind of common on most bass amps. But what's special about the input on the BG500 is the fact that it accepts both active and passive pickups. So basically the gain range of the BG500 allows you to take any bass, plug it in, set the level and get going. Right next to the gain control you'll see a SpectraComp knob. Now SpectraComp was originally developed for our RH450 bass amp. And it's quite special in the fact that it's not a regular one-band compressor like most other compressors out there on the market. In fact, it's a three-band compressor, so that means that it compresses your sound in the lows and the mids and the highs completely independently. What that translates into is a much more musical and much more transparent type of compression that will tighten up your sound without completely killing the dynamics and your whole playing style. So that's SpectraComp. Following SpectraComp, we have a pretty common tone control section. So here's where you can adjust the sound of your bass. There's 4 standard controls: a bass control, a low mid control, a high mid control, and a treble. Obviously these are pretty straightforward. I'm sure you're familiar with those already. As an addition to the tone control section, we also added 2 contour buttons. Now the contour are basically prefabricated EQs that we did at TC Electronic, and it allows you to basically get going really fast. So it's prefabricated. You can hit contour 1 or contour 2 or take it off again. So basically you get a predefined EQ scale, and you can then operate your sound or change your sound with the tone controls in addition to the contour. Following the tone control section, you'll find a new knob that's called tweeter tone. Now tweeter tone is very unique. I haven't seen that on any other bass amp yet. What tweeter tone is that it allows you to control the level of your tweeter from the front panel of your amp. The reason for this is that we looked at a number of different combos and cabinets out there, and we saw that most of them actually have a knob on the backside that allows you to control the level of the tweeter. We thought that was kind of weird, to be honest. So we thought, well, why not put it up on the front panel instead so you could actually use it? Because it's kind of difficult to get to the backside of your bass amp in the middle of the gig. So that's exactly what tweeter tone is. Only with the addition that tweeter tone has a little bit of EQ in there as well that allows you to adjust not just the level of the tweeter, but also how it blends into the woofer playing part of things. So in essence, what it gives you is that it allows you a much more intelligent and much more musical control of your tweeter level or your treble level overall. Next to tweeter tone, you find tube tone. Tube tone, just like SpectraComp, was originally developed for the RH450 bass amp. And the thinking behind tube tone was that we wanted to do a knob that allowed you to have a little bit of tube sound in the amp without making a complete tube amp. Now we saw that there was a lot of bass amps out there that tried to do that with a simple tube or maybe 2 tubes in the preamp. But obviously it doesn't really make a full-on tube sound to have just 2 tubes in there. So what tube tone is that it's a full-on replication of what a tube amp does. So it has the full preamp section, but also the power amp section right after the tone control section that allows you to give a much more full and much more complete version of what tube sound really should be in a bass amp. So that's tube tone. We made it really simple. It's a 0 to 10 knob that you dial all the way up from just a little bit of grind and all the way up to regular overdrive. Next to tube tone, we have the master level, pretty common knob as well. The master level controls the 500 watts of the power amplifier. Up here in the top row, you see that we integrated a tuner as well. This is something that's pretty common for our bass amps, we think that it makes really good sense for a bass player to always have a tuner around. This particular tuner allows you to mute the outputs of the speaker and tune in silence. Really nice and easy. Finally, up here in the top line, we have 3 memory buttons. What they basically allow you to do is to dial in any kind of sound that you want on your BG500, press and hold one of the buttons, and you'll be storing that particular sound. You can now move on to store a different sound or to make a different sound and then store that on a second button and completely seamlessly switch between the 3 memory settings. So very nice and very convenient in case you play different styles or different basses or whatever it might be. Finally, over here we have the connector panel. Right here we have the auxiliary input, which allows you to have playback tracks come out of the headphone output. We supply a small mini jack to RCA cable that allows you to connect your iPhone, your iPod, or any kind of other source that you want to play back from. There's 2 stereo tracks comes out of the headphone amp. Headphone amp mutes the speakers when you plug it in, and it actually includes a small speaker filter on the bass signal as well, so it blends in really nicely when you want to do rehearsal. Finally, over here we have the balanced out connector, which also has a switch that allows you to select whether you want a pre or a post tapping of the audio. So that essentially means whether you tap the audio from right after the input or right after the entire preamp section, including SpectraComp, tone controls, tweeter tone, and tube tone. So that's done with a pre and post switch. Balanced out can be used for connecting to the PA or for recording in any kind of setup. So that's the quick overview of the BG500 combos. If you want a bit more detail on some of the features, please check out some of the other videos.